Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into China. It's a country that just, well, it blows you away, doesn't it? The history, the culture, the landscapes. I mean, the Great Wall to the Shanghai skyline. It's this amazing blend of like ancient depth and super modern energy. But our mission today isn't just about the sights. Fantastic as they are, we're taking a proper deep dive into the practical side of traveling there. We've gone through a stack of sources, articles, advisories, traveler experiences, and the goal is to pull out those critical insights that'll help you feel prepared, confident, and honestly, just really excited for your trip. Help you navigate China like you've been there loads of times.
Exactly. And it's important to frame this right at the start. China is generally a very safe place for tourists. Our sources kept highlighting that, the violent crime rate, remarkably low compared to many Western countries. Just look at the numbers for 2024. China's murder rate was about 0.53 per 100,000 people. Compare that to the U.S. rate of, what, 4.96? It's a huge difference. But like any destination, especially one so different, it has its own, let's say, unique challenges for visitors. And they're definitely worth knowing about beforehand.
Right. So, given that overall safety, what were some of the maybe unexpected hurdles that jumped out from the sources? What really makes you go, when you're looking at advice for visitors? Okay, let's dive straight into something that might catch people off guard. Avoiding scams and petty crime. It seems like almost every source we looked at was really clear on this. Violent crime is rare, yeah, but scams targeting foreigners, surprisingly common. It feels like a bit of a curveball, considering how safe the country feels otherwise.
It really does. And probably the most infamous one, the one that comes up again and again, is the tea house scam. It's kind of a classic setup, you know. You might be traveling solo or maybe just out for a walk in the evening, Beijing, Shanghai, Guilin, wherever. Then a friendly local approaches you, seems helpful, maybe just wants to chat. Then they suggest going for tea at some authentic local spot.
Playing on that desire for a real cultural experience.
Precisely, it preys on that. And the setup is, well, it's quite clever, really. Once you're there, the menu probably won't be in English, and crucially, no prices listed. They'll suggest a tea ceremony, maybe try several different teas.
Sounds nice initially.
Right, until the bill arrives. And it's for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars. And get this, sometimes other friendly locals who seem to be sharing the cost are actually in on the scam.
Oh, wow. That's bold.
It is. The key insight here, the thing to remember, is that genuine hospitality rarely starts with a stranger insisting you go to a specific, slightly hidden place. If it feels too random or too pushy, it probably is. And this isn't just tea houses. Be aware of drink scams in bars, too. We found reports of young women luring male travelers to bars where they get hit with insane bills, like up to $12,000.
$12,000.
Yes, backed up with threats of injury if they don't pay up. So that rule about refusing unsolicited invitations is really crucial across the board.
Okay, that puts things into perspective. Vigilance against unsolicited approaches seems to be the main theme. Are there other, maybe less dramatic, but still common ways money becomes a target?
Oh, absolutely. Counterfeit money is definitely something to be aware of. You might get fake notes when you're exchanging currency, or sometimes a taxi driver might swap your real note for a fake one.
How's that work?
They might take your 100 yuan note, quickly switch it, then hand back a fake one, claiming yours was counterfeit, trying to get another real one from you. Sneaky.
Yeah, very.
Vendors and markets might also give fake notes back as change. And there have even been reports of fake ATMs being set up.
Fake ATMs.
Yeah, it happens. So the takeaway is, always check your notes carefully, especially the bigger ones. Stick to reputable sources for cash banks, proper bank ATMs inside the bank, if possible. And just keep an eye on your money during transactions. Oh, and breaking down those 100 yuan notes into smaller ones, 20s, 10s, 5s, can help manage things too. Then you've got the classic taxi overcharging. Drivers might take a longer route or just not use the meter, especially if you look unsure of where you're going. And definitely watch out for black taxis. These are unlicensed private cars. You often see them hanging around airports, train stations, big tourist spots.
Right, the ones that approach you directly.
Exactly. They'll probably quote you double the proper fare. Little tip for Beijing. Legitimate taxis usually have license plates starting with Obi. So, best practice. Use licensed taxis, insist on the meter, avoid unmarked cars, and maybe have your destination written down in Chinese characters. Or even better,
Use a ride-sharing app.
yeah, apps like Didi are widely used and generally safer. Just remember, Uber doesn't operate in mainland China, so you'll need Didi.
You know, it's funny, reading through some traveler forums, like Reddit, someone actually said pickpocketing is almost non-existent in China.
Really? That's
Yeah,
interesting.
they put it down to all the cameras everywhere, plus the fact that it's mostly cashless now. Everyone uses mobile payments. And if your phone gets stolen, it can be IMEI locked, basically bricked almost instantly.
That makes sense. The whole digital payment thing has changed a lot.
It's such a contrast to places like, say, Barcelona or Rome, where you're constantly warned about pickpockets. But I guess, even so, basic awareness in crowded spots is still smart, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't let your guard down completely. And besides pickpocketing, or the lack thereof, there are other minor scams to be aware of, like fake beggars. Sometimes people dress as monks, especially near tourist sites in Shanghai or Beijing. They come up with these elaborate, sad
And they
stories.
can be persistent.
Yeah, sometimes they even get a bit physical if you ignore them. And believe it or not, some now even have QR codes so you can give them digital donations.
Wow, modern begging.
Kind of. A good tip is just to watch what the locals do. If they're walking straight past, it's almost certainly a scam. Then there are fake tours. You might see people near Tiananmen Square or the Forbidden City offering super cheap tours to the Great Wall, for example.
Sounds too good to be true.
Usually is. The catch is they often take you on long detours to specific shops or factories, jade factories, silk shops, that kind of thing. They really pressure you to buy souvenirs because the guides get a commission. So, the advice is clear. Stick to reputable, well-reviewed tour agencies. Use official guides. Same logic applies to fake goods and traditional medicine scams. You'll find lots of fake, overpriced souvenirs in touristy shopping areas. And be cautious of traditional Chinese medicine clinics that offer pricey diagnoses and herbs, especially if your tour guide pushes you towards them.
So always do your research first.
Definitely. Avoid clinics linked to tour groups or recommended by strangers on the street. Look for properly accredited practitioners if you're genuinely interested. The underlying theme for all of this really is just being wary of unsolicited offers. If someone approaches you with a deal, an invitation, a diagnosis, just be skeptical. Keep your wits about you.
Right. So whether it's a friendly face offering tea or a street vendor with a supposed bargain, that general rule, be cautious, keep belongings secure, seems extra relevant here.
Mm.
Okay, so we've covered street smarts, avoiding scams. But travel isn't just about avoiding bad encounters, it's also about well-being. What about health and environmental factors? Things visitors should be aware of just for a comfortable, healthy trip.
Good question. Air quality is a big one, especially in major cities like Beijing. Now, checking today, August 1st, 2025, the AQI, that's the air quality index in Beijing, is 59.
Which means,
That's rated moderate. So, generally okay for most people for outdoor activities, but, and this is important, Beijing's air quality can get very high, meaning quite polluted, at certain times of the year. On average, pollution levels can be almost 5 times higher than WHO safety standards.
5 times, wow.
Yeah. So even at moderate levels, people with asthma or other sensitivities might notice symptoms like wheezing or shortness of breath. The basic advice is check the daily AQI. On poor air quality days, maybe wear a mask if you're sensitive, and perhaps limit really strenuous outdoor activities. And interestingly, one source mentioned that even indoor air quality, like in hotels, can be affected by things like how many people are staying there. So for a longer stay, maybe consider if your accommodation has air filtration.
That's a detail you wouldn't normally think about. Beyond the air you breathe, what about personal health? Food, water, medical stuff?
Right. Food and water safety are pretty standard travel precautions, but worth repeating for China. Be a bit cautious with street food. Look for places that are busy, with high turnover. That usually means the food is fresh.
I'll get tip.
And definitely stick to bottled or boiled water. Don't drink tap water. If you buy fruit or vegetables yourself, make sure to wash them thoroughly. Now, medical care, it's widely available in SAYs, but getting international standard care can be very expensive, and you'll usually need to pay upfront at the time of service. Medical evacuation, if you needed it, extremely costly. We're talking potentially tens of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so that leads directly to insurance, I assume.
Absolutely essential. You need comprehensive travel insurance. Make sure it covers accidental medical expenses, hospitalization, emergency medical evacuation, but also things like lost luggage, trip cancellation, flight delays. And check with your provider before you go. Confirm the coverage details and how it works locally in China. Also, bring enough of any prescription medications you need. Some might not be available there, or dosages could be different. Don't assume you can just pick it up easily. And finally, vaccinations. Chat with your doctor well in advance about recommended vaccines, things like Hep A, Hep B, typhoid, maybe Japanese encephalitis or rabies, depending on where you're going, plus seasonal flu and COVID-19 boosters.
It's really striking that, according to those Reddit comments anyway, the biggest physical danger isn't crime, it's traffic.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, even with all the safety overall, it's the chaotic driving that people highlight as the main physical risk. Quite the contrast.
It really is. Traffic in Chinese cities can be, well, intense. Drivers don't always yield to pedestrians, even on crossings, and watch out for electric scooters and motorcycles. They often zip along pedestrian paths. That Reddit user quote was spot on. Taxis step on the GAS when there is at least 25 meters of space in front of them.
Huh. Sounds about right from what I've seen.
So you really need to be alert. Use designated crosswalks, but look both ways, then look again. Don't assume cars will stop. It's almost the opposite of the pickpocketing situation here. It's all about being physically aware of your surroundings.
But getting around cities isn't all chaos, right? What about public transport?
Oh, definitely not. Beijing, for example, has a fantastic metro system. It's extensive, efficient, clean, pretty cheap, and crucially, it has signs and announcements in both Chinese and English. Very user-friendly for tourists. Just one important note, if you were thinking of driving yourself. Canadian and international driving licenses aren't recognized. You can't just rent a car and go.
Huh.
And drinking and driving, penalties are extremely severe. Don't even think about it.
Okay, good to know. So if traffic is the main daily urban hazard, what about bigger, less frequent things like natural disasters? Earthquakes, for instance.
China is definitely in a seismically active region, so earthquakes are a possibility, though major ones affecting tourist areas are rare. There's actually a new national guideline that came out in May 2025 to help the public prepare. And interestingly, China just completed the world's largest earthquake early warning system last July.
An early warning system. How much warning does it give?
Seconds to maybe tens of seconds after a destructive quake starts before the strongest shaking hits. It's not a lot, but it could be enough to take cover. Visitors should just be aware there's a 4-tier warning system, red, orange, yellow, blue, indicating severity.
Okay. Anything else on the natural hazard front?
Yeah, typhoons and monsoons are common between April and October, mainly affecting the southern and eastern coastal areas. They can cause serious flooding. And if you're heading to mountainous regions, things like avalanches and landslides are potential risks, depending on the season and location. The main advice is just stay informed about local weather forecasts. A good weather app is your friend.
All right, so from those physical and health considerations, let's pivot now. We need to talk about an area where China's rules and environment can feel significantly different for visitors. The legal landscape and digital life. What's the absolute biggest legal difference someone needs to understand?
This is really crucial. The U.S. Department of State specifically advises travelers to exercise increased caution in mainland China. Why? Because of the arbitrary enforcement of local laws. This includes the use of exit bans.
Arbitrary enforcement, what does that mean in practice?
It means people can be detained without immediate access to consular help from their embassy, or sometimes without even being told clearly what crime they're suspected of. Authorities also have very broad power to decide what counts as a state secret. That could be documents, data, even electronic messages. Getting caught up in something deemed related to espionage is a serious risk.
And these exit bans, how do they work?
They're a serious concern. The government can impose them to force people, including foreign visitors, to participate in investigations, maybe to pressure their family members back home, settle business disputes, or even as leverage against foreign governments. And the really unsettling part, you might have no idea you're subject to an exit ban until you literally try to leave the country and get stopped at the border. You're effectively trapped.
That sounds quite worrying.
It is. And there's another layer, especially for some visitors, dual nationality. China does not recognize dual citizenship. So if you're, say, a U.S. citizen but also hold PRC citizenship, or maybe you're a U.S. citizen of Chinese descent, you could face extra scrutiny. Chinese authorities might treat you solely as a Chinese citizen, which means they could deny you access to U.S. consular assistance.
So the advice is?
If you are a U.S. citizen, always enter China using your U.S. passport and keep it with you. Make your primary nationality clear.
That's a very stark warning, especially the exit ban possibility.
Yeah.
Now, beyond that, another area that always comes up is China's approach to law enforcement, especially around, say, drugs. What's the key thing listeners need to know?
The laws are incredibly strict. Simple as that. Penalties for possessing, using, making, or selling illegal drugs, and that includes cannabis, are severe. We're talking heavy fines, long prison sentences, or even the death penalty in some cases.
Death penalty.
Wow. Yes. But here's the part that really catches travelers out. Random drug testing. Authorities can conduct urine or even hair follicle tests randomly, And if you test positive, it can lead to immediate detention, fines, deportation, and a ban on re-entering China. Here's the kicker. This applies even if you consumed the drug legally in another country before you even arrived in China.
So something you did legally back home could land you in serious trouble weeks later in China.
Exactly. It shows a fundamental difference in legal thinking. Your actions outside China can still have consequences inside China if detected. It's a major, major point of caution. Cannot stress that enough.
Okay, point taken. Given these serious legal points, how does the average visitor navigate daily digital life? Connectivity, apps, I imagine is quite different too.
Oh, dramatically different. Internet censorship, the Great Firewall, is very real. Many websites and apps you use daily are blocked. Think Google, Facebook, Instagram, X, WhatsApp, YouTube, major news sites.
So pretty much the standard Western Internet toolkit.
Pretty much, yeah. And you should assume your online communications could be monitored. Authorities might even ask to review the content on your phone or laptop. So, a reliable VPN virtual private network is absolutely essential. Not just nice to have, essential if you want to access the global internet using Wi-Fi or a local SIM card. Without one, you'll feel very cut off.
Okay, VPN first. What else? Any apps that are must-haves?
Definitely. WeChat and Alipay. These two apps dominate payments. China is largely cashless now, especially in cities. You'll use these for everything: taxis, restaurants, shops, even street vendors sometimes. Crucially, try to link your international credit card to them before you travel. Setting it up can sometimes be tricky once you're there. Without them working, paying for things can be a real hassle.
Got it. WeChat, Alipay. What about getting around?
For ride-sharing and taxis, you'll need Didi. As we mentioned, Uber isn't there. And for maps, Google Maps doesn't work very well. Local apps like Gaiyud AM Map or Baidu Map are much better and more accurate. They often have English interfaces too.
Good practical tips. Anything else on the tech side, like power adapters?
Ah, yes, power plugs. Your standard US 2-prong plug might work in many sockets, but the 3-prong grounded US plugs usually don't fit. China mainly uses the 2-flat pin type, like the US ungrounded one, and also the European-style 2-round pin plug. Many hotels have multi-type sockets that accept various plugs, and USB charging ports are common now. But just to be safe, a universal travel adapter is always a good idea. And make sure your electronics can handle 220V, which is the standard voltage in China, unlike the US's 110V. Most modern chargers are dual voltage, but always check.
Okay. And finally, are there any other general sensitivities, things visitors should just be mindful of to avoid accidentally stepping on toes or causing problems?
Yeah, a couple of things. Political activity is a definite no-go. Avoid any demonstrations, don't get involved in political discussions, especially in public, and be very careful about photography. Taking pictures of police, military personnel, or protests is restricted and could lead to troubled detention, questioning, having your photos deleted. Also, don't photograph military installations or government buildings unless you have clear permission. It might seem obvious, but it's easy to forget when you're snapping away as a tourist.
So the general advice is keep a low profile on anything potentially sensitive.
Exactly. Be an observer, enjoy the culture, but don't participate in or draw attention to anything that seems political or security related.
Right. We have covered a lot of ground today, from, that sneaky tea house scam to navigating chaotic traffic, understanding the digital restrictions, the legal seriousness. The aim of this deep dive, as always, isn't to scare anyone off. Absolutely not. It's about equipping you, the listener, with solid knowledge so you can travel smart, feel confident, and really just soak up the incredible experience that China offers.
Precisely. And it's worth repeating, despite all these precautions we've discussed, the overwhelming feedback from travelers is that China is very safe. Many people explicitly say they feel safer walking around there, especially at night, than in many cities back home. The key, like anywhere really, is just being prepared, being informed, knowing what to look out for.
So, as you think about maybe planning a trip or just reflect on our conversation today, here's something to mull over. We talked about how digital life is already so integrated there. Payments, surveillance. Looking ahead, how might future tech advancements change things even more for visitors? Could they make travel even easier or maybe introduce new complications? What new kinds of preparation beyond VPNs and payment apps might become essential for travelers in the coming years? Lots to think about. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those fascinating questions. This has been another deep dive into what makes our world so incredibly interesting.